truth.
No getting up so
We gather to do the service. Father dear, Leah Jacoby, what a nice picture here. That's a porno. She was.
It was a candid.
Yes, well, I can see it.
She didn't like having her picture taken.
It's a little bit like a Jackie Onassis picture. Remember all those pictures of Jackie O? She would be looking off away from the camera. I don't know why she liked to do that, but my mom used to love to do that. Here you go, sir.
Yes.
So Baruch Dayan Hamet, we praise the Judge of Truth. Let us begin with Psalm 121. Asai enai el haharim me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim ba'aretz. Al yitain lamot raglecha, al yanum shomrecha. Hinei lo yanum v'lo yishan shomer Yisrael. Adonai shomrecha, Adonai tzilcha ad yad yaminecha. Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka v'yarech b'layla. Adonai yishmarcha mikol ra yishmor et nafshecha. Adonai shmar tzecha v'uecha me'ata v'ad olam. I lift up mine eyes unto the mountains, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way, your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. The Lord is your guardian, he is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will guard you from all harm. He will guard your soul, your going and your coming, now and forever. Amen. And together let us recite in the English the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Do you have any words from Uncle Fivey?
I have. Are these the? I incorporated them into my words.
Let me call you forward for your words. Absolutely.
Oh, sorry, that's very fast.
Call forward her dear daughter to eulogize her beloved mother.
Okay. I have to laugh because this is printed by the lovely guy at the motel. He says, send it to me and I'll print it for you. So it says front desk Staybridge on the top.
Looks very nice. And he printed it in a beautiful big font.
Yes, he did.
So we can all read it,
exactly,
right?
Exactly. I wish that my mom could hear all the outpourings of grief that I've heard from people who knew her in the past 2 days. Believe me when I tell you that she wouldn't believe it. They must be talking about some other Leah Jacoby, she would say. My mom was self-deprecating to a fault. As her youngest brother, my Uncle Phil, wrote, Leah was the best listener I've ever known. She uplifted everyone who knew her. She made equals or better of others. I may not be okay, but you are super, is something like what she'd say. If you told her how smart she was, she always said it wasn't true. She could solve everyone's problems but her own. My mom's older brother, my Uncle Yale, whose daughter's here, Rachel, with us today, always talked with my mom every week about the old days. They would reminisce about all the places they lived, and the farm in Mastic and on East 105th, and all the people they knew. He said, I've lost my historian, and that's irreplaceable. In the past 2 days, I've found out just how many lives my mom has touched, even from the room in the nursing home that she rarely left. Not just family, but aides, nurses, social workers, our beloved geriatric care managers, rabbis, friends. She would probably say to me, they think I'm a pain in the neck, or they probably say that to all the residents. She would likely be surprised by the people who came tearfully to her bedside in Maltz Hospice and sat with her, all the people she deeply affected by listening. When Mom and I would talk on the phone, she'd tell me about this one's granddaughter who was learning to read and that one whose ambition was to get her nursing degree. The woman who, in the same breath, would tell me she was worried about losing her memory made people I barely knew come to life over the phone. And yes, she could complain, believe me. The food was horrible. They made better soups at Menorah Park than Montefiore. I can attest to that. It took an hour to get my pain pill, or an agency nurse didn't know not to put her pills in applesauce because she was actually sharp as a tack, knew by sight every pill she took, and wanted to see them before writing down in her ever-present steno notebook exactly what she took and when she took it. I'm pausing here for a second because I only see one person on the Zoom. I'm a little concerned about that, but I don't know what to do about it.
But they can watch it later.
Oh, that's true.
they
They
miss
can.
it.
If they miss it, they can watch it later. I'm just
Yeah, I was
surprised.
helping my dad. So
Okay.
I think
Yeah. I guess
should
I
be on
I
there.
didn't
It's fine
do
to
it.
let them in or
I know because
they don't
Nancy
always
got right
want you
in.
to see them.
Okay.
That might be part
Oh,
of
so
it.
maybe it's just not that. I don't know.
Maybe it.
But oh yeah, there are other people on the Zoom. Okay.
Bunch of
All
other
right.
people.
I'm feeling so happy now. Okay. I just didn't know. I could only see Nancy, which I love you, Nancy. But I just wanted to see if there was anybody else. All right. My mom could complain with the best of them, but she also had a sense of humor, one that deepened with age. When she had to move from rehab after breaking her arm to a room in Menorah Park 5 years ago, my spouse Eileen found her the perfect book. It was called Who Moved My Cheese? Anyone who knew my mom knew that she hated change of any sort and wouldn't even let us remove dead flowers because they were a gift and she liked them dried and they were still pretty. Let alone did she really want to move out of the townhouse she lived in for over 40 years, even though she was increasingly isolated and there were 2 flights of stairs and she was on a blood thinner. Before long, that book became a joke we shared for crises large and small. I would say, well, Mom, I guess someone really moved your cheese. And she'd laugh and maybe feel just a little bit better about whatever was happening. One of Mom's favorite aides, Taz, worked nights. Mom was a night owl, grabbing bits of sleep more often during the day, so she and Taz would sometimes have what I called a midnight feast. Taz would make my mom's favorite microwave popcorn and they'd share it and chat a little. Taz picked up on a phrase my mom often said, "What can you do?" And she thought it was really funny. She found a kind, gentle way to rib my mom about it, imitating her body language and expression as she shrugged her shoulders and said, "What can you do?" This, too, became a joke between her and my mom. Yesterday I joked that I should put on my mom's grave marker, "What can you do?" But Mom, I promise you, I won't really do that. But still, if I did, what could you do? My mom was one of the best listeners too. One of my best listeners too. It was not always easy being her kid, her only kid. She struggled with mental illness her whole life, and so I was often both child and parent from an early age. We had many ups and downs in years past, but I always knew my mother loved me fiercely, and she pushed all of her limits for me, giving me birthday parties with all my friends, even when I'm sure part of her wanted to curl up in a ball and go to sleep. Taking me on 3 buses, she never learned to drive, she was afraid, to Cleveland Heights High School in summer for swimming lessons because she had been afraid of the water and never learned to swim. She didn't want that for her daughter. To this day, I love the water and I love swimming. My mom read to me every single night. We shared Winnie the Pooh and a book I asked for incessantly that was called A Present for the Princess. Mom often told me the story that she would no sooner get to the last page than I would say, "Again!" And then she would start all over again. I surely got my love of books and reading from my mom, and over the years we've shared a love of children's literature. I would joke that Mom had the best kid-lit library in the nursing home, probably the only one. Between books of mine that she saved everything, and the ones I would send or bring to her, she had quite a collection. as well as all the newsletters and poetry journals from my 2nd and 3rd grade classroom from my teaching days, which she had stashed everywhere in her room and reread frequently, even trying to memorize some of the poems. Though I never gave her grandchildren, she did love from a distance all her grandcats and really appreciated why we love them so much. And also yours, Elizabeth. She loved yours too. And she always knew everything about my kids at school. She marveled at how they seemed to grow up overnight and would ask things like, "How's Noah?" or "I can't believe Roma's in college." It was the same with Eileen and her family. My mom loved Eileen from day one and took her in as a daughter-in-law. Though she never met anyone in person in Eileen's family, she would always ask about them, especially about our 4 nieces and nephews. I was able to share pictures with her in recent years on her grandpad. Think an iPad for old people, that's what it is. And she loved seeing them. That grandpad, for someone who said she couldn't do technology, Mom figured out how to use that thing in so many ways. Not just for our video calls, especially useful during COVID, but reading articles like the cat of the day and the dog of the day, or telling me the weather in Boston before I knew what it was. She loved nature, and since she really got out, cherished any nature photos we sent her. Another gift she gave me was a love of nature, and especially of trees and flowers. When Eileen retired and started painting, my mom became one of her biggest fans and always asked us to add pictures of Eileen's latest work to the grandpad. Whenever we were together, we would talk nonstop. It was both exhausting and wonderful. We'd have Russian tea biscuits with a cup of tea, take out from a Chinese restaurant, and just an aside, we once snuck Chinese food into Menora Park, which is kosher, and you weren't supposed to do that. And I thought I was being really tricky. I had it like covered up in bags, and I snuck it down the long hallway. And then the nurse came in at one point, and we threw it under the bed. And so I think it was an aide, the nurse, whoever, she looked at us and she was like, "I know you have Chinese food in there. We could smell it all the way down the hall. Don't worry about it." So, luckily at Montefiore, that wasn't an issue. So that was one good thing about that change. We would eat treats like from Heinen's that I would send her, like Skinny Pop or her beloved Tate's chocolate chip cookies. And if you come over to the hotel after this, we have a lot of bags of Tate's chocolate chip cookies in my mom's honor. And Russian tea biscuits too. We would talk about old photos and she'd tell me stories, or we'd watch her favorite house hunting programs on HGTV and try to guess together which house the couple would finally choose. She also read her Jewish news every week and her Reader's Digest and kept up on all that was going on in the world. The hardest thing by far about writing all this is using the past tense to talk about my mom. Just days ago, we were having ordinary conversation on the phone. She had fallen but seemed okay. I was telling her about our planned summer road trip to Cleveland. Yes, I know she was 95 years old and had congestive heart failure and kidney issues and had been on hospice for over 2 years on and off, which is probably a record. But she had bounced back from so many hard things that I called her the Energizer Bunny. So many times when I thought, this is it, it wasn't. I can't yet fathom that the last person in the world who's known me forever and whose love for me has been an unfailing thread throughout my life is gone. Someone has really moved my cheese. This past year, Mom got into trying to memorize poetry to help her memory. Recently, a social worker had printed out some Shelley for her, and she was working on a sonnet. She loved the language of the first stanza she was learning, so I will end by sharing it in her memory. To a skylark. Hail to thee, blithe spirit, bird thou never wert, that from heaven or near it pourest thy full heart in profuse strains of unpremeditated art. Thanks.
And to those words spoken as a prayer, let us say Amen.
Amen.
This afternoon we gather to recall the life and the times of your dear Leah Jacoby. She was kind, you said. She was a great listener, and she was self-deprecating, and anybody who gets to be 95, who lives to 95, is in so many ways an Energizer Bunny, because there's so many things the person goes through. And her love of kid lit, children's literature, is also a blessing. So this Shabbat we will begin Sefer Bamidbar, the book of Numbers. And the Torah portion begins, and it's the reminder of Leah. It begins with a series of census counts to establish the number of adult males available for military service and the number of Levites to serve in the wilderness tabernacle and the number of Kohathites from the clan of the clan of the Kohathites to carry the most precious parts of the tent of meeting. And when you read the beginning of the book of Numbers, most or many modern readers are just bored to tears. It's just an endless list of names and numbers. And things written in the Torah have meaning, even if it takes a little digging to determine the meaning. And so we're fortunate that Rashi, in the 11th century, brings a beautiful and insightful comment. Rashi said, what's the meaning of all the names and the numbers? Counting the people is a measure of God's intense love for each person. Because you don't count people and you don't count things that are unimportant, unless you're totally Mishnah, right? You count people that are important to you. And you count things, precious items, that are important to you, people that you care about. And so the same insight brings us here today as we gather in solemn reverence to count and to recount, as Susan, you did so beautifully, to recount and to count the life and the deeds and the name of your beloved mother, your beloved Leah. It is fitting that she breathed her last as we begin the book of Numbers this Shabbat. She was born here in Cleveland, April 9th, 1929. Her parents of blessed memory, Joseph and Sonia Gressel. She was the third of 4 children. There's Mickey, Miriam, who passed away in 2020, and Mickey's grave is right here, and there's her stone. Mickey's husband, Sam, is right next to her as well. The second born, Miriam was the firstborn, the second born, Yale. He's in Massachusetts. Our condolences to you, Yale. Third born, Leah. Fourth born, Phil, or Fievel. And he's in Texas, and so our condolences as well for the loss of your dear sister. Leah was raised here in Cleveland, and she spent most of her time here. Not only was she a great listener for Susan, having to do with everything personal and with Susan's classroom students, but for others too. She's been in Menorah Rehab and Montefiore rooms for about 5 years. And at her time, she was just incredible. She was there. She didn't really socialize with other residents all that much, but she did with the staff. And she learned all the things about the staff, and she would tell Susan and probably Eileen about them too. And over the years, she took time to listen to the nurses and the aides, and they loved her for it. For example, we heard about Taz, or Taz. Is it Taza or Taz?
Taz.
Taz? Well, sometimes it could be a different pronunciation. Let's go with Taz. We heard about Taz, the night worker, and her popcorn. All right? And then also you mentioned a woman, Martha Davidson,
Who's here?
a caregiver, and you made her your German chocolate cake. So apparently it was a good German chocolate cake every year. Susan, you recalled your mom would tell me the best thing she ever had was me. And at the same time, as for each and every child, life is a bit of a up and down with our parents. She was your best listener, and that is a tremendous gift. As the years went on, she didn't leave her apartment very much. But luckily people spent time with her and talked with her and listened to her too. She had, she had a love of maps and geography, And she liked to tease her sister Mickey, because Mickey didn't know north or south or east or west. And she liked maps and geography. And the grandcats, as you mentioned. You said that growing up, we lived on ranch land for about 40 years, and Mom made a friend, Karen. And Karen came to Judaism as an adult, and she became very, very pious, very, very observant. And Karen used to bring Jewish things for every holiday for Mom. And Elizabeth Fink was an incredible geriatric care manager. And when Mom had, excuse me, gotta love the allergies, forgive me. Elizabeth Fink was an incredible geriatric care manager. And Mom, when she had to go to the hospital, you're out of town, which is where you live, Elizabeth went. So what a blessing Elizabeth is. She's been in hospice for the last couple of years. Usually people don't live in hospice for that long, but as the Energizer Bunny, she did. And finally on Friday she breathed her last. Now she's at peace, and just as Shabbat is a time of peace, so too for Leah it's a time of rest and wholeness and peace. Our Jewish tradition teaches that her soul returns to God, to be with the souls of her dear parents and loved ones and ancestors of our people. We learn this in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, verse 7. The dust returns to the earth as it was, the spirit returns to God who gave it. One day all of us will join our loved ones in Olam Haba, the world to come. Olam Haba is a time as opposed to a place. This is a place. Olam Haba is a time when the souls of our loved ones, they dwell in this time, and we will be together with them when we go. We're sending along a Machzor, an old High Holy Days prayer book, and a little Pesach Haggadah with her in the casket. It's a mitzvah to escort the body of a loved one to its final resting place, and also holy books of our tradition. We're sending a Haggadah in particular because Pesach is a time when we recall and we give thanks for God's redemption of our people from Egyptian slavery and deliverance so many, many, many years ago. And today, your dear mother, your dear friend, your dear Leah has been delivered and freed from any sort of deterioration and pain and difficulty. So your memories are filled to overflowing, absolutely to overflowing. And we give thanks to God for this gift of long life, really long life. We thank God so much for this. And as you think of her, try to be a better listener. It's something that each of us can give as a gift to other people. And so we conclude with words from the first chapter of the book of Job. Adonai Natan, v'Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevorach. The Lord hath given, the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord, and let us say, Amen. Ose Shalom Bimroma, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ye'imru, Yimru, Amen. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. May God, who causes peace to reign in the high heavens, cause peace to rain down upon us, upon all Israel, and upon the soul of our dearly departed Leah Jacoby, and let us say, Amen.
Amen.
If you can rise, please rise for Elmalei Rachamim. Into your care, O God, we entrust the spirit of our dear Leah Jacoby, for you keep faith with your children in death as in life. Sustain us that we may meet with serenity the mysteries that lie ahead, knowing that when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you, O God, are with us, a loving friend in whom we put our trust. You are the light of our life, our hope in eternity. Elmalei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Ametzeh Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Im Kedoshim U'Tohorim, Gezohar Ki Amazirim, Et Nishmat Leah Shehalacha L'Olama Ba'al Harachamim Yasdireha B'Seitzei Kenafav Le'olamim Vayitzro B'Yitzro HaChayim Et Nishmata Adonai Hu Nachalata V'tanuach b'shalom al mishkava V'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to our dear Leah Jacoby. She has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace, and let us say,
Amen.
Amen. And we sanctify God's name in Leah's loving memory as together we recite the Kaddish prayer. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ba'alma divrach hirutei v'yamelich malchutei, v'chayichon v'yomeichon v'chayidechol Beit Yisrael, v'agala v'yizman kari v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam ol'amei maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei d'kudisha b'richu le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata ta'amiran ba'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shmaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael Bimru Amen. May God grant peace to those who mourn and comfort all who are bereaved among us, and let us say, Amen. And now we will help escort her body to its final resting place as we'll place some earth upon the casket. Lech ki shelachecha Adonai, go your way, for the Lord has called you. Lech Adonai ye'imach, go your way, and may God be with you. V'halach lefanecha tzidkecha, kavod Adonai yasvecha. May your righteousness go before you, and may the glory of God receive you. Would everyone who is here not wearing the mourner's ribbon please repeat these words after me, speaking them to Susan. May God console you.
May God console you
With all who mourn.
with all who mourn.
in Zion and Jerusalem.
In Zion and Jerusalem.
Hamakom Yinachem Etchem B'toch Shavet Zion v'Yerushalayim. And now let us all go forth in peace to life and live our lives in a way that Leah would be proud of our behavior and how we treat one another. We will say Kaddish for her. Are we going to your room or
we are going
wherever
to
we're going?
We're staying at the Staybridge Hotel, which is in Mayfield Heights. It's maybe about 10-15 minutes from here.
Right. It's on Lander Road.
It's on Lander. It's right off.
Right where
Lander
Lander
Road.
Haven was.
And they said we can hang in the lobby. So
Okay,
anybody who wants
so
to
we'll-
come. We have some nice treats that were all my mom's.
We'll go
favorite
say
treats.
Kaddish for her there,